There is a moment you will never forget. You are walking down the street, doing nothing wrong, and suddenly someone throws at you words like a knife. You're nothing. You will never succeed. Just one sentence. But it's enough to make your heart shrink, enough to make that day heavy. What do most people do? They blush. They snap back. They justify themselves. They let emotions explode like a fire out of control, and in that very moment, they have already lost. Because Machiavelli warned us 500 years ago, whoever lets himself be led by offense has already handed over his power to another. Stop. Think carefully. What would happen if you reached a state where no one, no word, no contemptuous glance could touch you, where insults bounce off and fall to the ground like meaningless pebbles, where your calmness makes others tremble more than any outburst of anger? This is not a soft skill. This is the 10 dark laws that Machiavelli mastered, and you are about to learn them. The laws that turn you into someone unshakable, uncontrollable, unbreakable. But before we begin, make one small act. Write this sentence right below in the comments as a vow to yourself. I am untouchable. If you are brave enough to type that line, then from this moment on, you have entered the journey to make yourself untouchable. Law 1. Anticipate contempt before it arrives. Imagine this. You walk into a crowded room. You're about to present an idea you've been preparing for weeks. In your mind, everything will go smoothly. People will listen, nod, and support you. But then a voice rises from the corner of the room. That's ridiculous. Everyone knows this. The whole room bursts out laughing. You freeze. In that instant, you lose all confidence, forget every prepared word, and feel as if you've just been stripped bare. But stop for a moment. Do you realize where the mistake lies? The mistake is not in that person. The mistake is in you, because you walked into the room with a naive expectation that people would be fair, that they would respect you, that they would act properly. Machiavelli was different. He never stepped into any room without anticipating that someone would try to humiliate him. For him, contempt was never an accident. It was a strategy. People use it to test you, to probe your weaknesses, to control your emotions. If you walk through life expecting everyone will respect me, you've already tied your own hands. But if you walk through life knowing someone will try to insult me, then you're no longer surprised. You're prepared. Think about this. You walk through a notorious crime-ridden neighborhood. Are you surprised if you see a pickpocket? No. You stay alert. You hold your bag tight. You know it will happen. And because of that, you're not easily taken down. Life works the exact same way. Contempt, envy, mockery. These are not exceptions. They are the rules of the game. The weak are confused, wounded, every time it happens. The strong smile because they saw it coming long ago. Machiavelli once wrote, "The wise man does at once what the fool does at last. After pain, the wise prepare for offense. The fool stumbles over the same fall, again and again." I want you to write this in the comments right now. I expect disrespect. Aquidin, this is not a complaint. It is a vow that from now on, you will no longer be caught off guard. Remember, preparation doesn't mean bitterness or paranoia. It means you walk with your eyes wide open. You no longer let emotions lead you like a child hoping everyone is good. You see life exactly as it is. A playground full of people who will test, mock, and try to pull you down. And precisely when you anticipate it, you become unshakable. Because when contempt shows up, you simply smile. I've been waiting for this. From that moment on, the power is in your hands, not in theirs. The first law has taught you this. Preparation turns insult into prediction. But if you are ready, the next question is, how will you respond when that insult finally falls? Will you explode? Or will you choose a weapon stronger than any reply? That is Law 2. Master the art of silence. There is a truth most people never realize. When someone insults you, what they want is not your answer. What they truly crave is your reaction. Think back to the last time you were mocked. Maybe at work, maybe in your own family. A comment thrown out, just to see how quickly you would lose control. If you got angry, they win. If you rushed to justify yourself, they still win. If you snap back with a harsh reply, they win even more. But if you remain silent, what then? In that very moment, the entire balance shifts. Picture a fighter throwing his strongest punch. only to land in empty air. That is exactly how a provocateur feels when all they receive is your cold silence. Machiavelli once reminded us, if you cannot be both loved and feared, then choose to be feared. Woe Zeman, and your silence is what plants invisible fear in their hearts. They don't know what you're thinking. They don't know what you will do next. And that unsettles them more than any counterattack. Think back. Have you ever stayed silent instead of reacting, and then watched as the other person grew nervous, spoke too much, even contradicted themselves? Exactly. That is the power of silence. But make no mistake, there are two kinds of silence. One is the silence of the weak silent, because the wound is too deep, because they have nothing to say. The other is the silence of the strong silent as a choice, as a sharpened weapon. One radiates helplessness, the other radiates power. You must train so that your silence belongs to the second kind. Try it next time. When someone provokes you, instead of firing back, count to 10, then stretch it to 20, and finally, remain completely silent. Observe their reaction. You will see them fidget, worry, tremble, simply because you did not respond. Silence creates mystery. Mystery breeds fear, and fear leads to respect. It is a chain reaction of psychology you can trigger without saying a single word. Napoleon Bonaparte was famous for knowing when to stay silent. He understood one hasty reply could ruin his authority, but a cold, calculated silence made his enemies cautious. And now, I want you to write this in the comments as a vow. Silence is strength, because only when you commit to it will you truly turn silence into your own weapon. But remember, silence is only the beginning, because if inside you still let emotions burn, you can still be exposed. And that is why we need the next step. Law 3. Never let emotions betray you. Picture a familiar scene. You are in a heated argument. Your heart races, your blood rushes to your face, and then you burst into tears. Or worse, you yell, slam the table, shout uncontrollably. In that moment, you believe you are showing strength. But the truth? You've just exposed your most fatal weakness. Because when someone sees what makes you lose control, they will never forget. And from that moment, they hold a lever over you. They will use it, again and again, until you fall apart. Machiavelli understood this back in the 16th century. A ruler may feel every emotion, but he must never reveal them. You may feel anger, you may feel sadness, you may feel anxiety, but all must remain behind the iron wall of control. The weak let emotions drive their actions. The strong let reason choose their actions. Ask yourself, the last time you lost your temper, what happened? Did you solve the problem, or did you only make others lose respect for you? A simple example. In a meeting, someone criticizes you publicly. If you explode, the entire room remembers only one thing. This person lost control. But if you smile, stay calm, and respond briefly and coldly, they will think, this person is dangerous. That is the power of hiding your emotions. And right now, I want you to write this in the comments. I control myself. Make it a reminder to yourself every time anger rises. There is one powerful technique. Detach yourself from your emotions. When your heart beats fast, imagine standing outside, watching yourself, and ask, if this were my best friend, what advice would I give them? That psychological distance pulls you out of the spiral of instinct. Remember, emotions are only information, not commands. They signal that something is happening, but they do not dictate your actions. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic Roman emperor, once wrote in his journal, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Real harm comes only from within." That is also the Machiavellian spirit. Emotions are fire, but you must be the one holding the oil jar, choosing whether to fuel it or extinguish it. Think of someone you truly admire. Do they not remain calm, even in the most stressful situations? Do you want others to look at you the same way? When you stay calm, you become unpredictable. Others cannot know what you will do, and when they cannot predict you, they cannot control you. Machiavelli once said, if you must choose, choose to be feared rather than loved. Your cold composure is what plants that hidden fear. So from today, never let anyone see you fall apart before them. You may cry, but cry alone. You may feel anger, but turn it into strategy, not meaningless outburst. Be someone who feels but never lets emotions betray them. And when you master this power, you've escaped a great trap. But there is an even subtler trap when you are pulled into defending yourself, forced to prove your worth. That is Law 4. Control the frame, never defend. Imagine this. You've just achieved something. Maybe it's a successful project, a new job, or simply a right decision in your life. But then, someone drops a cold remark. Just lucky. It's not like you're that good. What's your natural reaction? You want to explain. You want to justify. You want to list out achievements to prove them wrong. Sounds reasonable. But in that very moment, Machiavelli would say, you've just walked into the trap. Why? Because the moment you start justifying, you've already admitted that their opinion has value. You've stepped into the frame they set. And inside that frame, you're no longer the leader, you're the follower. Machiavelli once wrote, everyone sees what you appear to be. Few touch what you really are. When you are busy proving yourself, you are unconsciously exposing your insecurity. Think back to the last time you over-explained to protect yourself. How did you feel afterward? The more you spoke, the weaker you felt, right? The law of power is simple. The weak chase after others' questions. The strong set the frame of questions themselves. Example, someone mocks you. You're not smart enough for this job. An ordinary person will rush to list degrees and experience. The Machiavellian simply smiles and says, interesting, then changes the subject. You don't play by their rules, you force them to play by yours. Right now, I want you to write this in the comments as an affirmation. I control the frame, because this is not just a phrase. It's how you refuse to be a puppet in someone else's game. Remember, controlling the frame doesn't mean staying silent all the time. It means that when you choose to speak, your words redefine the situation. For example, someone sneers. You don't deserve that position. You might smile and reply coldly, maybe that's exactly why they chose me. Is not his name short, sharp, and they choke on their own words. History proves this too. Julius Caesar was once publicly mocked in the Roman Senate. He didn't waste a breath defending himself. He only smirked. Months later, he consolidated power so strongly that those who once mocked him bowed their heads. Caesar understood. Justification doesn't change your position. Only action and composure redefine the frame of power. So ask yourself, whose frame are you living in? Are you spending your life trying to prove yourself to people who have nothing to lose? Law 4 teaches you a ruthless truth. Every time you rush to defend yourself, you've already lost half the battle. But when you control the frame, you preserve your power while your opponent crumbles. Don't waste time winning small arguments. Win by refusing to play that game in the first place. And once you escape the defensive trap, you'll see another danger, even more subtle, dependency on the opinions of others. And that is Law 5. Detach yourself from every opinion, whether praise or criticism. There is a subtle trap most people fall into. It's not criticism, it's praise. Think back to the last time someone complimented you. You're so smart. You did an excellent job. You're truly special. In that moment you felt joy, as if you had been given extra strength. But the moment you depend on that feeling, you've locked yourself inside an invisible cage. Because if your mood rises with praise, then with a single insult, you collapse. Machiavelli understood. Both praise and criticism are chains. Once you need them to feel valuable, you've lost your autonomy. Do you realize this? It's the sweet words that actually weaken you. Because you begin to crave them, like a drug. The truly strong are different. They can smile at praise, but remain unmoved inside. They can listen to criticism, but not let it shake them. External opinions are nothing but noise. Machiavelli once wrote, the first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him. This means only a rare few opinions are worth anything, those from people of wisdom and strength. The rest is dust. An example, a young entrepreneur starts his business. At first success, society praises him. Friends celebrate him. He drowns in the intoxication of victory. But when the company faces hardship, the praise disappears. In its place comes criticism and scorn. He collapses, not because of real failure, but because he depended too much on applause. That is the trap of living on the opinions of others. Right now, I want you to write this in the comments. I validate myself. This is a vow that from now on, your value is no longer decided by the world. Try a simple experiment. For 1 week, stop seeking validation. Don't ask, did I do well? Don't check likes, views, or compliments. Just focus on what you know is important, what you know is right. You will notice your mind becoming strangely calm. And that strength, the strength that doesn't depend on anyone, will set you apart completely. Think carefully. In your life, who holds too much power just with their words? One compliment can make you happy for a whole day. One criticism can keep you awake for a whole week. Do you dare take that power back? Machiavelli called this true freedom, because when you are unmoved by praise or criticism, you can no longer be manipulated. No one can lure you with flattery. No one can crush you with insult. You become a fortress standing firm on your own foundation, unshaken by the storms of opinion. And once you've broken free from the chains of praise and blame, the next question is, how do you turn this calmness into a daily discipline? The answer lies in Law 6. Reward yourself for control, punish yourself for losing it. Think of a warhorse. If it's stubborn, you cannot just shout at it and expect obedience. You must train it with reward and punishment. Each time it moves in the right direction, you pat it, feed it. Each time it resists, you pull the reins, force it through harsher drills. Your mind works the same way. If you want to control emotions, you cannot rely only on willpower. Willpower, when exhausted, will betray you. You need a system. Reward yourself when you stay calm. Punish yourself when you let emotions take over. For example, today, a colleague mocks you. You feel the heat, but you choose silence. You smile. You keep working. That night, reward yourself. A good meal, a favorite movie, or 30 minutes of pure rest. Tomorrow, you lose your temper, raise your voice, and regret it. Don't ignore it. Punish yourself. Do 30 more push-ups, take a cold shower, or switch off your phone early. These actions are rewiring your brain. If every outburst costs you a penalty, will you lose control as easily as before? Machiavelli once wrote, "Men are simple and driven by immediate needs." That means you can absolutely lead yourself by linking pleasure to control and linking discomfort to loss of control. This was how Roman warriors trained. They knew, on the battlefield, 1 second of lost composure could mean death. So in the camp, they punished themselves for every small mistake, so that in war, discipline was already written into their blood. Right now, I want you to write this in the comments. I train myself. See it as a vow to your own mind. Notice, most people rely on willpower. Today, I'll try not to get angry. And then, they fail. Willpower is like fire. It burns bright, but fades fast. A system of reward and punishment is like burning coals, steady and lasting. An MMA fighter once shared, every time he lost his temper in training, he forced himself to throw 100 extra punches at the heavy bag. Little by little, his brain learned anger equals pain, exhaustion, calmness equals victory, relief. The result? In real fights, he became cold, almost frightening. You can do the same in everyday life. If starting today, you train yourself like a warrior, rewarding, punishing then in just 30 days, how much would you transform? Law 6 teaches you, control is not abstract philosophy. It is daily discipline. Once you make it a habit, composure becomes a natural reflex. And by then, others may scream in your face, but you only smile. Because you have tamed the wild horse within, you have built the system to master yourself. But how do you turn that composure into a psychological weapon against those who try to manipulate you? The answer lies in Law 7. Turn indifference into a weapon. There is a paradox in life. When someone attacks you with words, they do not actually want to see you silent. What they want is to see you react. They want you to flare up. They want you to justify yourself. They want proof that they have touched your weak spot. But what if you are indifferent, as if you never heard them? You have just stripped away the only victory they hope to gain. Imagine a person who constantly taunts you. You are nothing special. Her work is worthless. If you react, you hand them power. But if you just glide past, eyes calm, as if they spoke about the weather, what then? That very indifference will drive them insane. The message you send is crystal clear. You are not important enough for me to care. Think about it. The person who once kept you awake with a few cutting words, how will they feel the day they can no longer bother you? Exactly. Suddenly, they are the insecure one. Machiavelli once wrote, "A lion cannot be trapped. A fox cannot frighten a wolf. A wise man must be both fox to detect traps and lion to frighten wolves." Indifference is the trap you set. When others believe they can manipulate you, but then only hit that cold wall, their own weakness is exposed. Recall a modern example. Steve Jobs faced waves of ridicule when he introduced the first iPhone. Many mocked it, calling it an expensive toy. Jobs wasted no words fighting back. Result: a few years later, the world fell silent, and his competitors chased him. That is the power of strategic indifference. And now, I want you to write this in the comments as a vow. Indifference is power. Well, but be careful. Feigning indifference is entirely different from true indifference. If outwardly you appear unconcerned while inside you boil, others will see through you. Only when your mind is truly fixed on something larger, on the goal, the mission, the growth of self, does indifference become natural and powerful. Ask yourself, who in your life benefits from your reaction? And if starting tomorrow, you begin to ignore them, what will remain for them? Law 7 teaches you, victory does not always come from attack. Sometimes, victory is when another is crushed by your silence and indifference. Not because you are weak, but because you are too strong to be dragged down. You have learned to use indifference as an invisible blade. But there is a higher step. Turn every attack, every insult, into fuel to build your power. That is Law 8. Convert the energy of attacks into power. Every time someone attacks you, they are doing something they don't even realize. They are giving you energy. But most people use that energy to burn themselves. They get angry. They argue. They throw themselves into pointless battles. The result? The energy turns into ashes. The Machiavellian is different. They know how to turn every insult into fuel to build strength. Think back to the last time you heard this. You'll never make it. The usual reaction is hurt. But what if instead, you turn those words into the engine to work twice as hard? You've just stolen the energy they threw at you and used it to propel yourself. That is the art of converting attack into power. Imagine this. If every put-down became a reason to move forward, where would you be after a year? A classic example. Thomas Edison was once told by a teacher he was too stupid to learn anything. If Edison had exploded, he would have faded away in silence. Instead, he turned the humiliation into fuel. The result? Over 1,000 inventions and a legacy that changed the world. Machiavelli would call this flipping the balance of power. When enemies think they are breaking you, in reality, they are powering you. Right now, I want you to write this in the comments as a declaration. Fuel, not fire. To remind yourself, attacks are not meant to burn you, but to energize you. Here's a crucial psychological law. Those who attack you are often exposing their own weakness. When they mock your appearance, it may be their own insecurity. When they belittle your skills, it may be their fear that you'll surpass them. So use that information as your growth map. Mocked for being weak. Train until your body becomes a weapon. Laughed at for being dumb. Learn until your knowledge cannot be denied. A modern example, Cristiano Ronaldo, as a child, was mocked for being skinny and having a rural accent. He didn't argue. He trained until his muscles hardened like steel. He sharpened his voice, honed his skills, and became one of the greatest players in history. The mockery became fuel for immortality. Ask yourself, in your life, who is accidentally fueling you with their attacks? Will you let it burn you, or turn it into fuel to build your empire? Machiavelli once said, "I am not interested in preserving order. I am interested in overthrowing it." So should you. Don't maintain the status quo when attacked. Flip the board. Turn every strike into a step higher. You have learned to turn attack into strength. But beware. There is a subtler trap, the urge for revenge. If you fall into it, you waste your energy on needless wars. And that is Law 9. Let go with cold calculation. Most people are haunted by one idea: revenge. Whoever insults them, they must strike back. Whoever betrays them, they must retaliate. It sounds justified, but Machiavelli would call this the trap of emotion. Because every time you seek revenge in anger, you are playing on a board set by your opponent. You lose time, you lose energy, you may even lose credibility. Picture this. Someone spreads rumors about you. Your ego wants to attack instantly, but if you pause and ask yourself, does striking back actually serve me? If the answer is no, then you let it go. Not because you are weak, but because you refuse to let emotions dictate your strategy. Think back. The last time you jumped into an argument just to teach someone a lesson, what did you gain, besides exhaustion? Machiavelli once reminded us, nothing great was ever achieved without danger. But not every danger is worth facing. A wise leader chooses battles. Fight when the reward outweighs the risk. Withdraw when the battle is only a game of ego. A historical example. Julius Caesar endured countless insults, but he did not strike back immediately. He waited. He calculated, and when power was fully in his hands, those men either bowed or vanished. Patience is not weakness. It is the blade kept in the sheath, drawn only when necessary. Right now, I want you to write this in the comments. I choose wisely. To remind yourself, you are not dragged into every battle. You choose the battle that serves you. Look at the present. Elon Musk has faced waves of criticism. If he had argued with every journalist, every comment, Tesla and SpaceX would have collapsed long ago. He chose to let results and innovation answer. And when success arrived, those who mocked him fell silent. Ask yourself, how many small enemies are consuming too much of your time and energy? If you let them go with cold calculation, how much strength would you free for greater goals? Law 9 teaches you this. Do not seek revenge out of emotion. Act only if it protects your reputation, your interests, or your long-term strategy. If not, treat them as dust. That is the difference between one who lives for pride and one who lives for power. You have learned to let go with cold calculation, but there is still one final step to becoming untouchable. That is Law 10. Become untouchable through absolute detachment. There is a ruthless truth. People can only hurt you when they find a door to step inside, a point where you are too attached, too dependent, too invested. But if you detach absolutely, no one can touch you. Imagine this. You love your work, but if someone criticizes it, you collapse. You are proud of your family, but if someone insults them, you lose control. You crave success. But if failure arrives, you feel as if everything is lost. That dependence makes you a hostage to the emotions of others. Machiavelli understood. True power comes when you can love something without being enslaved by it. To love but not be ruled. To desire but not be chained. To be attached but not controlled. Have you ever seen someone who seems nothing can shake them? You admire them, don't you? That is the power of detachment. A historical example. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, once lost a son he deeply loved. He grieved, but he did not allow that pain to destroy his ability to lead. He wrote, "Everything we love can be taken from us, except our mind." That is the essence. When you no longer let the outside world decide your inner peace, you become untouchable. A modern example. Nelson Mandela was imprisoned for 27 years. If he had let hatred rule him, he would have died in prison. But he chose detachment, no bitterness, no hatred, and when he walked free, he turned that calm into the strength to lead a nation. Right now, I want you to write this in the comments as a final vow. I am untouchable, not as a slogan, but as an invisible shield you carry every day. Understand this. You may enjoy success, but not depend on it to define your worth. You may love people, but not allow them to control your emotions. You may enjoy life, but never stake your fate on a single variable. That is absolute detachment. And when you reach this state, you are no longer a fragile individual. You become a force. If tomorrow you lose what you cherish most, yet still hold your composure, you have entered the realm of the untouchable. Machiavelli once wrote, "He who is respected is less likely to be conspired against." The untouchable is not one who cares for nothing. It is one who gives no one the power to use what he cares for against him. That is the summit of power, not shouting to prove yourself, not reacting to defend yourself, but standing still in the storm, while the world bows to your composure. You have walked with me through the 10 coldest laws of Machiavelli. You have learned to anticipate contempt before it arrives. You have seen the power of silence, the danger of emotion, and the art of controlling the frame of the game. You have learned to detach from every opinion, to train yourself, to use indifference as a weapon, to turn attacks into fuel, to let go with calculation, and finally, to become untouchable. But all of this will mean nothing if you only listen and nod. Power does not come from philosophy, it comes from action. Engrave this into your mind. No insult can destroy you. No praise can control you. No storm can sweep you away. From today on, you are no longer just a person reacting to the world. You are a fortress. You are a force. You are someone others must reckon with. If you are truly ready to walk this path, write this in the comments as a life vow. I am cold. I am calm. I am untouchable. Make it the invisible shield you carry every day. Because from this moment on, you no longer let the world control you. You are the one who writes the laws. You are the one who holds power. And you are untouchable. See you in the next video, where we continue to uncover the cold secrets of power.